This episode of the Tom Retro Chronicle is brought to you by the song called At the Root by the artist called Juris. To check out more PodSafe music, check out dig.ccmixter.org. Go on, check it out. You'll like it. Woo!
A 1, a 2, a 3, 4, 5. It is the Tom Retro Chronicle with your host called Tom Retro.
Looking good, baby!
Tom Retro is also known as the Retro Guy and has a very interesting angle on things like sports, music, movies, books, and pretty much mostly life. He has a WordPress account, a very funny Twitter account, and overall a very interesting guy. Yeah. And also has very interesting interviews like me, Arnold Schwarzenegger, yeah. So let's head it to our very own very special host called Tom Retro.
Yeah, what's up? Yeah, get a little bit some of that funky music in there. Alrighty, and welcome to this 19th episode of the Tom Retro Chronicle. Yeah, it's been quite a while. Yeah, a little bit, but not too much, I suppose. It's been a while, but alrighty, and welcome. And I am taping this on a very depressing, rather stormy afternoon here in Fargo, North Dakota. Excuse me for that pause. Anyway, so yeah, it's snowing in April, and somehow it's 70 degrees out and sunny conditions over in Augusta, Georgia. Rats. Well, what can you do? It's April, I suppose, but alright, currently I'm currently watching True Lies, which is probably one of my more favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. Probably maybe my favorite. Maybe my favorite movie of his. I don't know. Maybe you could throw in the Terminator movies. Perhaps maybe that would be also good to know too. So, but anyway, in terms of content for this show, it's gonna be pretty light. I'm going to talk about the Masters a little bit. Talk about my thoughts going into this final day of four, the fourth day of four rounds of coverage for the Masters tournament. And then, I don't know, maybe might throw in Alma Mater tales or something like that. So definitely check that out too. So, alright, let's get on to the first topic. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I love golf. I like watching golf. I haven't really played golf in a long time, almost 10 years. But essentially, the tournaments I usually watch tend to be the majors, since that's pretty much how much player is looked at as a whole, basically his resume and such. Like, essentially, major tournaments are basically the top dogs in golf, which is like the Super Bowl for football, the World Series for baseball, and such. But essentially, if you've won majors, you're definitely looked at as certainly one of the top players in the game. And Tiger Woods, Tiger has always been, since pretty much day one to basically until until 2008, when he last won a major tournament, which was the U.S. Open. He has had basically a run of about 11 years winning majors. So since then he hasn't won a major tournament. So do I go against the guy? I don't know. But I think the field has gotten better. Like, there's a new generation of golfers like Rory McIlroy, Sergio Garcia, Angel Cabrera, Bubba Watson. Certainly, I could probably throw his name in there. I think the competition's gotten better. Like, since 2008, like whenever, like, I could remember back in the early days, watching golf with my dad. Tiger Woods pretty much knew his best part of his game was his putting, and basically his putting skills had never let him down for basically that 11-year run. And then all of a sudden he has surgery, and basically a year later, essentially everything in his personal life came into basically view when I still remember where I was when he landed his car into a tree while his wife, then wife, Elin, had to get him out of the car using a what was it, like a 9-iron or something. But anyway, and then all of a sudden, basically, his life started to crumble. Basically, he had all these mistresses, maids, other women starting to come out and say that he had an affair with them. And then, I don't know, it kind of seems a little edgy to me, but I don't know, somehow the way life works is like, it's kind of like this. If you're successful, everyone likes you. You know, like celebrities, like you, brands. I'm trying to think of what else. Sports athletes, basically, you get a lot of money, and then all of a sudden, your life starts to crumble down all around you, and then basically that's when people basically try to go in for the kill and try to ruin your reputation. So it sucks, you know. Life is cruel, you know. But of course, I'm not trying to say anything to defend Tiger Woods. I mean, if he did what he did, then that's certainly not something that I would look upon as saying, like, trying to give him an excuse or anything like that. That's essentially his fault, and he has to live with that, and then try to rebuild his life after that. So I don't know. It seems like it's never easy to be a celebrity. You know, people think that celebrities have it easy. You know, they get all this money, they get all the media attention, the paparazzi and such. But I think I think what Tiger has brought to us is that if you somehow let one mistake slip you by, um, people basically go in for the kill like vultures. So I don't know, you know, I don't know. Seems like a more of an interesting thing to think about. I mean, when you're a celebrity, you it seems like you can't really be all yourself. You know, you have to be on top of it all. You have to say the right things right. I don't know. It seems like kind of more of a pressure thing, but I don't know. Maybe I think maybe I've been accused for trying to think like a celebrity, I suppose. But anyway, in terms of the Masters, um, currently right now the Masters is currently in the fourth round. Somehow Angel Cabrera, he is trying to go for his second green jacket. Certainly is probably one more favorite players to watch, other than Tiger. I mean, probably some of the other players that I kind of like to watch is Freddie Couples. Freddie Couples is pretty cool to watch too. I don't know, maybe Ian Poulter, other than the fact that he has a pretty cool name, Poulter. Like Poltergeist, like Ian Poltergeist. I don't know, but oh wow, Ernie Els is still playing. Wow. Anyway, currently right now, Tiger is four under par right now, and he is currently tied for seventh with Sergio Garcia. And Tiger is through 13 holes, and currently Angel Cabrera is under 8. So, and he is through 11 holes. So, so currently the leaderboard right now is Angel Cabrera with 8 under, while Jason Day, Mark Leishman, Adam Scott are tied at 6 under par, and then Thurborn Olesen, I'm not sure if I'm spelling that right or saying that right. He's from Denmark, and he's 5 back, and then with as well as Brandt Snedeker. So should be interesting. Should be pretty interesting and exciting Masters. Going back to Tiger, just for a little bit. Seems like Tiger in this tournament, you know, he was picked the favorite as usual, but essentially Tiger, pretty much the first day was pretty much he got to pretty much 2 under for the first day, which was pretty good. I mean, a 70 on the first day is definitely nothing to scoff at. So, But pretty much the second day, the second round, was pretty much the most interesting thing to talk about. Pretty much he had a pretty good round. He was starting to make his move. He was pretty much at 5 under. He was tied for the lead. And pretty much at the 15th hole, he hits, I believe he used certainly an iron. I can't remember what number it was, but it might have been 6 iron or something. But essentially, what happened was Tiger went through with the shot, careened over a certain area of water, and then once it landed, it pretty much landed awkwardly, and basically it rolled on back down into the water, which causing it to be a yellow hazard. So essentially, he was dealt with a stroke penalty. So this is basically the part that pretty much got everyone all confused about something. But essentially, I'm trying to find the rule on this, but essentially he had 3 options to play at an area where it was closest to the last place that he shot the first time, which I believe that's what he did. It might have been the shot a little bit more back, I believe, but in terms of the rule that he broke, which was USGA rule 26-1, which determines the legality of a drop. But somehow or another, it was saved by, but it was somehow survived. Basically, what I'm trying to say is basically another rule in the rule book saved Tiger from being disqualified, which if it wasn't for the rule, which is called 33.7, essentially 33.7, the rule is, the description of it is as quote, a penalty of disqualification may in exceptional individual cases be waived, modified, or imposed by the committee considers as action warranted. But the real application of the rule can be seen through a statement from Fred Ridley, chairman of the competition committee, on the 2-stroke penalty assessed to Tiger. So you can basically read on the rule itself. I'm not going to really explain it all that much more in detail. But somehow Tiger was saved by a rule that was implemented about 2 years before this year's Masters. So basically saved him from being disqualified. And currently, right now, he's doing pretty well. I mean, he's not in the lead or anything like that, but what can you do? And pretty much during basically the almost for an entire half hour yesterday, CBS. I don't know why CBS decided to do this, but they spent almost an entire half an hour on on the whole topic, and essentially all they were talking about was basically whether if Tiger broke the rule or not. And it was pretty much all self-explanatory. So I was like, guys, just stop. I mean, what was done, and just move on with it. Okay, just let us watch golf. Okay, but I don't know. I don't know. I like CBS. I like the things that they do, the sports they cover. They show NFL. They show sometimes tennis, especially the U.S. Open in tennis. They show golf. Um, SEC football, which can be pretty good at times. But I don't know. I like Jim Nantz, but he seems like a more of a crazy guy. But anyway, I think he's probably one of the more better sportscasters that we have today, other than Bob Costas or Mike Tirico. Mike Tirico is probably one of the more fewer people that I actually like from ESPN. But anyway, so I don't know. The problem with Tiger is going on to another um, thing that I want to talk about is somehow Tiger, when he has the lead, especially during his glory years, once he had a lead, it was pretty much over. I mean, no one could stop him when he had a lead. But whenever he didn't have a lead, he would never win anything. So it's going to be very interesting to see what will happen. I don't think Tiger is going to win the Masters this year. He might win the U.S. Open coming in June, or the Open Championship in July, or the PGA Championship in August, I think. But so I don't know. It seems like Tiger never comes into the clutch, I suppose. But other than Tiger, I don't know. I think Jason Day is probably my pick to win the Masters. I think maybe Angel Cabrera might somehow get through. Might get through the last 5 holes in the Masters. I think I don't know. Somehow, I think Angel Cabrera might choke or something. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but. So anyway, I don't really watch all that much golf. I mean, I usually root for Tiger pretty much because my father was a fan of him from day one. So pretty much I really became a Tiger fan from my father. So, anyway, let's talk about something else other than golf, which can be sometimes pretty boring, I suppose. But anyway, to the next topic. So this edition of Alma Mater Tales, somehow, this time this subject I decided to do while the snow is coming down blissfully, good and bad, but essentially this edition of Alma Mater Tales is basically the whole point from me deciding to become mass comm major to basically where I'm at right now. right at the point where I was about to graduate. Essentially, the biggest force that drove me into becoming a mass comm major was to become become a radio host, DJ, whatever you like to think about that. Um, um, so essentially, for to graduate to become a mass comm major in the emphasis in broadcast journalism, essentially you had to go through the medium of television. So essentially, what they mean by television is basically TV news, which is basically your bread and butter newscast. Like if you ever see like a local ABC station like WABC and um, like maybe like isn't that in New York or something? But anyway, so essentially like that in more of a college atmosphere, and I didn't really get into the television aspect of mass comm until essentially the sorry, I'm just being distracted by watching True Lies and such, but essentially the semester that I started to get into certainly the television aspect of it was the spring of 2010, which essentially the class that I was in was kind of more of the basics to video, which essentially that taught me a lot, and certainly the professor who ended up becoming my advisor, my academic advisor. I'm trying to remember exactly what the class was. Essentially, the class taught us how to do commercials for what would become like a TV commercial. Essentially, what we decided to do as a class was to do a Super Bowl commercial of Doritos, which I think it was Doritos Ninja. I think it was. Essentially, what we did was basically the same thing, same aspect of what that commercial was, which was, I believe, two guys were talking about Doritos, and then the guy leaves, and then all of a sudden this guy in Doritos chips comes over and attacks the guy in the shot. So, and trying to remember what else we did. I remember we did like sort of a a university promotion of the university. Like what we had to do was find certain information about the university and try to target like prospective students to come to the university. So essentially, the biggest market that we had to find was that was defined for our university was in the Twin Cities, which is essentially the biggest market for prospective students. I mean, pretty much a lot of kids live in the cities, so certainly you have to basically find a way to try to drive driving the point on basically the question, why should I come to MSUM when I could go to the U of M or our St. Cloud State University, or maybe even Concordia or NDSU, maybe, but something like that. So all I remember is that my commercial didn't make it into the final cut. I remember a friend of mine somehow won it, but it was still a pretty cool thing to do. I think we also did was like a PSA, like a certain PSA, and what mine was about was suicide. Because, I thought, suicide was something of a heavy thought to me, personally, but essentially it was pretty much the only thing that I could really think of at that point. So essentially what I did was there was like a certain website we had to go to like rent a camera. So I rented a camera, basically put it in my dorm room, and it was just basically me talking about certain facts about suicide, and I decided to insert a little video clip of NBC's like NBC's The More You Know at the end of it. So that's certainly one of the more interesting projects I ever had to do. So I didn't mind doing it by myself. So I don't know, seems kind of funny to me, but the class that really drove home to me was basically about a year later, during the spring of 2011, which was a year after I took that one class. And essentially, the class was TV news reporting. So essentially, what the class is exactly, it's essentially you become essentially a reporter for a college news program, which was called Campus News, which has gained so many awards. I think they even have a YouTube channel. Check out. I'm trying to remember what the channel was called. I think it was MSUM Campus News. You might have to search a little bit to find out where that is, but essentially you should find it under that channel name, MSUM Campus News. But I don't know, television to me seemed like something more of a secondary occupational idea that I had. So, but going into that class, because I knew I had to, in order to graduate with that mass communications degree, I had to basically get over the fact that that I've never been really all that comfortable about cold calling certain people, like certain contacts that I had to do for my stories. So pretty much the biggest obstacle that I ever had to do was try to deal with the fact that I've never been really all that comfortable with cold calling people, which is essentially calling people that you've never met on the basis of try to get through to something. So anyway, so in terms of that, that was pretty much the biggest obstacle that I had. Um, so pretty much I had to realize to myself that look, it's pretty much either you basically go through with this, or it's pretty much bust. So pretty much I decided I better might as well do it, because if no one else is going to do it for me. So basically I did that. Had to realize that. Trying to think what else. Essentially, the experience itself was very uplifting. It certainly taught me quite a bit about the form of media, the occupation of media. So, essentially, probably my favorite part, probably the most coolest story that I ever had to do for Campus News, was basically this NDSU researcher who was working on a certain, who was basically researching a certain part of composite material, which was called nacre, or which is also known as mother pearl. So essentially what, trying to remember looking back on it, essentially what I had to do was basically cover her story, and it was certainly one of the most coolest things I ever had to do, coolest story, but essentially what it was about was she was trying to research nacre, trying to look into perhaps maybe developing it for uses, certainly when I thought about it, I thought, this thing is pretty hard material, very durable. Certainly you could probably have used that for bone replacements or something like that, because this stuff is essentially nacre is basically armor for seashells. So yeah, that was pretty much the most coolest thing I ever had to do. Some other stories. Essentially, for those who do not really know what television news is all about, essentially, basically the basic parts of stories, TV news stories, are basically you have the standard news package, which is basically about a minute 30, and basically use the reporter's voice, interviews of maybe at least 2 to 3 people that we have to talk to, for a certain subject, like birdhouses or something like that. So essentially we had to cover that, as well as the thing about that, like what the story is all about, plus interviews, the video, certainly natural sound, and pretty much have that to at least 90 seconds of story. So some of the other types are VOSAT, which is voice over um, dash sound over tape, or sometimes it's called VOSOB, which is sound over board. Essentially, VOSOD is essentially the news anchor talking about a certain thing, like a certain topic. But essentially, VOSODs are at least VOSODs are shorter, like maybe at least 30 seconds, maybe at times. 30 to 45 seconds. I can't really remember all that much about that. So essentially, VOSODs were not really encouraged, but were not really encouraged to do. But essentially, if you have a very short news story that didn't really have as much material as, like, say, like a flood story or something, and so you couldn't really, unless you really found something really juicy about, like, a certain flood story, or maybe like some sort of like a science fair or something like that. You basically had to find at least 30 to 45 seconds worth of video to cover for that, as well as the anchor's voice and such. So, essentially, the program itself, it's pretty good. It's really good. I should know because I saw the stories that landed awards, like certain, and I don't know, it's a really good program. So essentially, the fall of the fall of 2011, I became a TV news photographer, and basically the whole class itself was essentially for campus news, but the program at campus news didn't happen until during the spring semester. So essentially, the fall was kind of more of an easygoing, like letting the reporters and the photographers do whatever they want to do. So it's kind of more. It was a little bit more of a free, and open system, without the pressure of putting on a TV news show at least 2 weeks in advance for something like that. So essentially, one of the most pet peeves whenever I had to do for basically campus news and pretty much into certainly TV news is essentially the phrase photographer. Pretty much when I was a reporter, trying to work out like for like an interview. Essentially, the first time I mentioned photographer, the person said, "Oh, you mean like a still cameraman?" And I was like, "No, like photographer as like someone who takes videos." So essentially, what really drove me nuts was my professor, my mentor, basically their use of the word photographer, and I never really got it. Like whenever I think of the word photographer, I mean pretty much everyone thinks about the word still cameraman, which like is like a like person who takes photos, like still photos, not really a person who takes video. So essentially, I adapted the word videographer, which pretty much makes a lot more sense. So I never really got why essentially why would they use the word photographer in the TV news setting. So I never really got that. So pretty much the third semester, which was last year, I wasn't really into. I wasn't the reporter. I wasn't the photographer. I mean, I was part of the. I was part of the team that put on the news graphics, like the certain stories, for certain areas that I had to do. So, but other than that, I also did. I worked with my mentor with running the show. I was the teleprompter guy who helped out with anchors with their corrections to the reporter stories. Like say if there was like certain grammatical error or something that didn't really sound right to like a news anchor, I would basically put in like from a certain program. What I had to do was like type in whatever they wanted to read off from the teleprompters. So what I did with that, and then trying to think what else. Trying to think what else I did, but I don't know. Pretty much the last thing I want to talk about with this before I decide to split on off here. I don't know, the whole television medium to me. I mean, it was a good experience for me to learn about television, how the whole thing works, because television is pretty much a whole different animal unto itself. But essentially radio to me was more of a medium that attracted me more than television. Based on the reasons why is I don't know. I've never really felt all that comfortable being in front of a camera. Like to me, television's kind of more of the it's more of a medium for the confident people in the world. So so essentially radio to me seemed more more of a behind the scenes thing for me to do. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I think television is a great medium for me to possibly get into, but it just never really felt right to me. Like I was more when I was a reporter, I felt like I don't know, I felt like I was pretty much out there alone with a bunch of people um, that that essentially have been in the business for like certainly a little bit more longer than I was. So I don't know. I felt out there, like an outsider, because I wasn't. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I don't know. I felt like I'm more of an outsider. I mean, I took the experience that I had, and I basically used it to my own advantage. I learned from it. I worked with it. So that's pretty much all that I can really say about that. So anyway, probably expect a new episode, episode 20, to be out pretty soon, fairly soon. Probably, definitely look towards maybe. I think I'll probably try to land an episode sometime on Thursday. So uh, definitely keep an eye out for that. So essentially, this episode's pretty much all good and done for. Um, so anyway, thank you for listening to the Tom Retro Chronicle, episode 19. Hopefully, I will see you all sometime on Thursday, and hopefully, you're having a much more better day outside than I am right now. I mean, I'm in my apartment right now while there's snow all over my window. So anyway, see you all on Thursday. Thanks for listening. Peace.
At the root.